Hello and welcome to this SlimDevOps. Where are we now? 25. Hello. This was originally recorded on twitch.tv/SlimDevOps on November the 18th. So if you're watching this on our YouTube channel after the fact and you want to join in interactively, then give us a follow over on Twitch. Hello, Peter. How are you?
Hey, Martin. I am good. You might be wondering why I have like 7 microphones going on and 3 sets of headphones, but we're on the Linux side today. And as all the chat knows, that I am a little challenged when it comes to Linux stuff. So audio was not working. And here I am with 2 microphones. But as long as people can hear me, we'll have some fun.
So I think we're going to be fine. I mean, you know, it's Linux stuff. We'll be fine. And also, our channel is now affiliated on Twitch. We're not looking to monetize, but it does mean we can do some more interesting things on the channel. I thought that you were just going pro-level streamer with, you know, your gaming headset as a result of us making Twitch affiliate.
Yeah. I think we have a headphone giveaway in our future at some point at Slim.AI. So, you know, maybe I'm just modeling. I don't know. What do people think about the Sennheisers versus the Bose? Do people do Beats by Dre? Are we, are we something else? Does the chat have ideas for headphones? You know, any of those work. So,
right. Okay. So, shall I sort of outline what it is we're going to have a stab at today?
Yeah, I'm excited. This is a challenge thrown down in the community. Yeah,
we'll see what happens. So, I saw this tweet from Kelsey Hightower, and this was part of a conversation about Docker Slim. And so he says, you know, I'm team 0 base image. And then there's some commentary that follows from some of the others there. And I thought, okay, I've seen that you can do from scratch in a Docker file and start with nothing. But what do you do? So I had a little
0 base image. That means like, so no Ubuntu,
right? No
Debian. We're just starting with like an empty box, basically.
We're starting with 0 bytes.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was having a think about this, and there's another project that I'm working on at the moment. So, you know, what we would do is I've created an empty directory. Here we go. So this is what we've got here. This is our starting point. But if I just make a directory called container, and go in there. If we edit a Docker file in there, then, you know, this is our starting point, right? Hopefully that's visible. I can just zoom the font in a little bit there. So from scratch, you know, which means start with nothing. And I was feeling, you know, I think I know what to do with this. And I'll explain why I think I know what to do in a moment. And I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll do a run here. And I'll run this thing called debbootstrap, okay? In fact, if I spell it correctly. Because that is what creates like a minimal root file system for a Debian or Ubuntu-based operating system. So I thought, easy. But then, of course, this run command wants to run inside a container that it's just an empty void. So it was at that point I thought, there's some extra work involved in this. So I think I know what the raw ingredients for this sort of, you know, this little test are going to be.
Okay, so just going back to the top. So what are we going to try to accomplish in this challenge? We're going to build a container from scratch, and what's that container gonna do? How are we going to know it worked? Like, what's the rough scaffolding of what we think we can do?
Okay, so I think the rough idea is this: we are going to create a root file system for an Ubuntu release as small as we can manage. We are then going to use that in our Docker file to create effectively our own base image of Ubuntu. And then I think what we should try and do is we should try and create a base image of Ubuntu. Our app is a Python Flask app. So I think we should then create another container, which is like a minimal Python container based on that. And if we get that far, we should then stick our app inside it.
Okay.
And we should be able to run our app. And it's the same little test app we were using yesterday on our stream with the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. So we can have a go at that. And by doing that, because what I've got here is, if I just bring up my terminal here, if I do Docker images, I've already pulled the current base image of Ubuntu 2004, the LTS, and Ubuntu Impish, which is the current like interim release. And these are 77 and 72 megabytes in size. So it'll be interesting to see how close we get to that. And I thought, you know, for extra points, we could try slimming our app and see how small it is. Because yesterday when we were doing our demo, our slimmed container was about 23 megabytes. So can we get anywhere near that is what I'm thinking. You know, can we do the whole thing and, you know, start from scratch?
Yeah, so we're starting from zero. We're going to add a bunch of stuff to this. You know, we're basically going to build a server. That's basically what we're doing, right? We're building a server, but it's a container. So we're building a server from scratch, from zero. Yeah. And then we're going to use that as a basis for our application. So a new container image based on that has our application in it. Then we'll try to slim that, and we'll just kind of see where we wind up. So
yes, and or we get into a horrible mess.
More likely.
It's, you know, I'm feeling overconfident. Misplaced confidence is what I think I have. So what we'll do is I'll start by heading over to my code editor, because something that I've been working on as a personal project recently, in fact, here it is, I've already loaded it, is an Ubuntu operating system to run retro games consoles. And I thought, how different could this be from running a container image in the cloud, right? It's basically the same thing. But there's I make use of debbootstrap in this project to, you know, bring up a basic image. So what I was thinking is I will take this as my starting point for making our file system, because I think I know enough about this tool to do that much. That's where I thought I'd start.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, before we get started, let's say hi to a couple people in the chat. There's also some ideas flying around, and I can tell a pretty high level of confidence that this is just going to work. Everybody seems to think that this is going to work really well.
Is that actually what people are saying, or are they being out of control?
No, but we have some ideas already. We have a lot of folks joining us, which is really great to see. So we have Phil, who is over with us on Cloud Native TV. We've got Esme. We've got Yannick, of course. We've got Bigpod, Danny, Jillian from our team. You know, we've got Andrew Heisen, Takeoff, Alistair. We've got a lot of great people here. So hi, everybody. Welcome. And thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, so some people, Lana says, just here for the lols, which I think a lot of us are.
Yeah, so that's Lainey, who I think, if that's the Lainey I'm thinking of, hi Lainey. This is Lainey from who I used to work with. And if it is that Lainey is now at Grafana. If I get stuck, Lainey, please help in chat.
And yeah, we had a few ideas already. Bigpod said you need to create a root file system. Right. So we're already there. I think who was saying that you know, there's actually something that's just for this very use case, a version of debbootstrap. I can't find that in the chat right now. That is for this very system. So I think that was from Alistair. Yeah, don't they provide a statically linked debbootstrap for exactly this situation? And then Yannick, of course, nods skeptically and says this is never going to work. So let's see if we can.
Okay, well, let's see how we go. The statically linked debbootstrap, I didn't know about that. I'm going to keep that in my back pocket if we run out of rope, because that sounds interesting. Or maybe I'll circle back to this in another you know, fun time and see what we can muster. So let's take a copy of that. Sorry, I'm just jumping around. So here we're in our empty directory, which has got our container directory. We'll build our Docker images in there, but for here, let's create a script to bootstrap our file system, or at least that's the idea. So we'll make that an executable thing, and then we'll edit that. We'll crunch bang this. So you'll be pleased to hear this. I've recently switched to a US keyboard here, and it's messing with my brain. Oh, and that's not a good start. It's the opposite of a good start. So that's what I have from my my tool. We'll just bring this back a little bit. So
and just for people like myself who are sort of less familiar with the Linux side, so the debbootstrap is a command that's internal to Linux. So with this shell, it's basically going to do something that says, I'm just going to create a Debian kernel, like basically a new operating system with these arguments. Is that right?
That's right. So debbootstrap is a mechanism to go off and pull down just the priority packages that make up the minimal user space of a root file system. So you know, I think this is the right place to start. Now there's a couple of things I'm doing in here which we won't need, because this was for a games console basically. We don't need that. We don't need this foreign statement, because the other script is actually building an ARM container on a PC, you know, an Intel PC. We don't need to include any extra packages. We want the opposite of that, in fact. And we don't need to tell it which archive to use, because we're just building a regular 64-bit. And we won't need second stage, because that's specifically for when you're building foreign architectures. So that, I think, is kind of enough. Actually, no, I made a note, because the other day I was fiddling with this. I noticed that there was this variant option here to create a minimal image. So I thought we probably want that today. Let's pop that in there. So we now need to adapt this. So let's think, what release of Ubuntu should we target? An LTS or something new?
I don't know. We do have some ideas in the chat. It sounds like Danny and a couple of people are going back and forth with some ideas that I think qualify as cheating, such as just importing Ubuntu as your first command after from scratch. So that's one idea. That's one. Doing a multi-stage build and self-hosting. So I think that's another idea, and then running debbootstrap from there. So that's an idea. That's maybe on the borderline. Getting some calls for 2204 as your Ubuntu version.
Okay.
And why not use a Docker file? Mine should say, would not use a Docker file. And Andrew Hazen says, why not use a Docker file? Mine should say, if you were using Nix. I'm not sure if I understand that, but I'd be curious to hear more about Nix, because it feels like we're getting into kind of the crazy realm that, you know, Nix plays in. So so yeah, actually we could revisit this using Nix maybe in the future. So we're going to do vocal, I think, based on someone's saying 2204 jammy. I wonder I tell you what, if we get this far, we'll try it with jammy, but I don't know how much of jammy is actually like living, alive and working at the moment to know whether that's sensible. That jammy is what will be the release in April stuff, but okay, gotcha.
So we're going to need a cache directory. The purpose for this is, if this goes wrong, it will only have to download the packages once, and I'm expecting it to go wrong, so we'll do that. So our directory for this is going to be something like that. So the reason I'm putting the present working directory in the path here is because debbootstrap only works with full paths, absolute paths. It can't do relative paths. And for our root file system, we'll do the same thing, but we'll tag on the end the release name. So we can, not that release name, we need the variable. so that we can do this multiple times if we want to. So I've set the architecture for Intel or AMD 64. This is now release, and that's going to be root FS. The minimum variant, we've got line endings. What's this telling me? I just need saving. Okay, so what do I think? Do I think that's going to work? Yes.
So is Deb Bootstrap actually, it's actually reading stuff from your local environment then, or this is all like pulling something down? No, it's all pulling something down from the cloud.
It's going to go off and go to archive.ubuntu.com and say, well, and it's going to make some requests to say what are the priority packages. It will then download those Debian packages, and then it should unpack and configure all of those into our directory, which we've said this is where we want the root file system, please. So we'll run this. Let's just see if I've saved it. Okay, so let's just run Bootstrap. I really have got that. If I get the paths wrong, I will actually throw my whole computer in the bin. So I'm just double checking that I've got the path in there correctly. In fact, I'll tell you what we'll do is I'm not going to risk it. We are just going to do this before I do anything else. Because it would be hilarious to watch me delete well, not delete, but overwrite my root file system live, and then just sort of watch the whole system implode on itself. And I'm obviously talking from a position of experience here. I have done that before now.
Right. So
I've done this very thing.
Everybody jump over to French Guy CH stream, over to Yannick's stream. We'll just continue from there. When Martin reboots and reinstalls his base operating system on his computer, like sometime next week, we'll join over there and we'll go from there. So
yeah, what made it worse is the time that I did it, it was actually an ARM container that I threw over the top of my running system. So we'll just run that, and I will put in my super secret password. Okay, so it is resolving to the full path. So satisfied that that's going to now do the right thing. Let's run it for reals. Okay.
Okay.
No such directory. Okay, of course. We need to make some directories. So we need to make our cache directory. And we'll also need to make our release directory. That should do it. Those are the only two directories we need, I think. So let's try that now. Okay. So this is now picking up a bunch of packages, figuring out what the dependencies are. It's now downloading them all. This is quite a lot of stuff. Oh, and now it's unpacking them. Okay, it wasn't too much stuff. Okay. Configuring. Right, so that's it. So if we have a look here, if we look in our cache directory, we should just have a bunch of dev packages. There they are. So if we need to do this again, it doesn't need to do the downloading bit. And if we look in, we've got a directory which should be called focal. There it is. And if we look in there, there we go. We have what looks like a root file system. So
looks like an operating system. Yep.
So far, so good. So let's just go back to our script here. So I think what we can do is we'll just comment all of this out. Like, oh, that was the wrong key because I'm on an American keyboard and that's the different button. Let's try that. There we go. So we'll skip over that step. So now what we need to do is make a tarball, I suppose. So okay, gosh, it's been a while since I've done this. See,
it's kind of like
the
regex or something like that.
ZF,
you just always
I think
look it up, don't you?
Create, compress. Okay, that should do that. And then we know what we want to call it, because we've conveniently made ourselves some variables. So we'll call it release.tar.gz. There we go. That's what we'll call the thing. And we want to point that at our root file system. So let's do that. Is this going to work? Root fs.
Yannick is saying dash cvf is the command, and then the folder gzip dash dash.
Yeah, no,
best
I think this is right. I think this is good.
Okay.
We're making tar gz. Yeah, I think
okay.
that's golden. I think. Cool. So, let's just think about that. Well, no, let's go and do that. So if we run our script again, it should just do that bit. There it is. Oh, hang on a minute.
I have something of a dangerous question for you.
Go on then.
What practical application does this have? And what I mean by that is, so I think I'm starting to understand why we would do this. Now we're doing this because it's fun and we have the potential for disaster, and it's kind of fun to kind of do this. Now, when Kelsey says I'm team 0 base image, he obviously has like some real reason for that. And I think what I'm intuiting from what you're doing, to explain it kind of in layman's terms, is we're building a local file system that's sort of a proxy for an operating system, or that is our operating system, right?
Right.
And then what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to copy that into this empty shell of the Scratch container, right? And then that's going to be the basis of our operating system. And if we do that, then we have a lot of control over that software supply chain, or over like what's in our container, because we're literally starting from 0. We know everything that's on our file system. Now, in a real life application, you would have exactly the root file system and the operating system that you want locally, and copy that in, so you know. Is that right? Am I getting all of that?
You're getting all of that dead right. Yeah, we are, in a rather long-winded way, we are creating a condition which would be infinitely easier solved with from Ubuntu /latest, you know, at the top of your Docker file. But you know, if we were more, if we customize that debbootstrap phase there, we could exclude some packages. You know, we want to take full control. We could reject some things and make an even tighter base image. You know, if we were, you know, caring about that. But we've got Docker Slim in our back pocket, so we don't mind how big the image is to start with, because we can make it smaller again. But what we do care about is, I know Ubuntu and Debian, so I want a nice familiar place to do my work. So, you know, but also it just, when I saw that tweet from Kelsey, I was like, okay, but how would you do this? So, you know, it's just, you know, it was a curiosity.
We do have one question in the chat that sounds related. Ashish says, could you please share the resources for getting to know the low-level details of containers? So Ashish, I don't know if you're new to the stream, but welcome. We do a lot of sort of low-level container stuff here on the Slim Twitch show, because Slim.AI has a tool, an online SaaS tool that allows you to look deep into any container and get down to the low-level file systems. We also sponsor the open source project Docker Slim, which has a bunch of tooling for getting into containers and also optimizing and minifying them. If you look back at some of our previous streams, you'll find some different tools and examples of us getting into containers, shelling into them, kind of understanding them at a root level. This is the first time we've ever done it from a 0 container, from a Scratch container. So I think you're in the right place at the right time if that's what you're looking for. But if you just kind of check out Slim.AI and some of the resources there, and if you jump into our Discord channel, which is linked at the bottom of Slim.AI, you know, we can post some more stuff over there for you if that's what you're looking for. So yeah, but welcome, and glad you're getting to see sort of this from the ground up. So
welcome indeed. Right then, so if we drop back here, we have our tarball. Here it is, and it's 67 megabytes. And I noticed something that I'd overlooked as this was building. I wonder if it's in my history and I can show you what I'm concerned about. I wonder if I can go far, apart from the fact that Perl is in this flipping thing. Oh my goodness.
It happened to us yesterday too, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, well, that was deliberate. I did that on purpose. I'm really trying to avoid this outcome today. I used to work Go on.
Laney says you're playing Ubuntu Climate Team and recreating .. So CD.
Yes. Let's have a look here. Somewhere up here, I'm hoping it's going to be in the history. I think we've got stuff that we don't want in this image, like a lot of stuff. All of this is debatable whether we need it, but I'm going to leave it alone. Oh, there it is. Here, look. So in the cache, all of those packages that we built this root file system from, a lot of them are cached there. So what's that? Apt archives. They're not too big. I won't worry about those, but that needs to go. And apt list, of course, is always something I mop up. So we should probably go and do something about that, because we don't want to carry a bunch of cached packages. So here we should delete from the root file system that we have just created apt apt var cache what is it now, var cache apt and archives, isn't it? There, that should do that. And then we also need to get rid of var lib. This is what everyone has in their Docker files after they do an apt update. Var lib apt lists. So that should mop up some stuff. So we'll rerun this bit which generates our tarball. What we'll do is just here we will remove our tarball before we start. So that I think is fine.
I really hope that there is just like a clip of us somewhere on Twitch with remove root file system.
Right.
What could go wrong? For people just joining, we're building a container from scratch. So that explains the remove root file system. We have a local variable and are building a local operating system, not deleting our root file system.
Yeah, it's a Linux meme, isn't it? The whole rm -rf/. I mean, you know. Right, okay, did that get rid of that? I think it's smaller. It's 20 megabytes smaller, so that's an encouraging start. So let's go with that. Let's go with this. This is our root file system. I'm sure it will be fine. It's got stuff in it. I mean, it's got a shell inside it, and I think that's all we need, right? Because when you do a Docker run, it spawns sh inside, or looks for sh inside your container, and then you know, everything else needs to be in there for it to work. So I think you know, we've got something. We've got something that should work. So
that was my other kind of dangerous question, which is, like, what is a scratch image, right? Like, so it's something that Docker can run. It's a Linux. It obviously has some flavor of Linux, because all Docker containers.
As I understand it, it's nothing. It's
just nothing. It's
null.
Like an empty folder.
Yes.
It's like an empty directory on a.
Yeah, it is just nothing. So, you know, all you can do is run the Docker commands, and providing the void that you've got can sustain those commands.
Okay.
So the Docker, you know, build can do things like add and copy. So it can add and copy things into this empty space. Is as much as it can do, I imagine. I imagine the only commands of any use would be add and copy.
Got it. So it's effectively, just in my kind of simplistic mindset, right? Like Docker, when we're dealing with the Scratch image, Docker is the operating system or the pseudo operating system.
Right.
It's sort of the omniscient God crane that can move files in and out and run files as long as it understands how to run them. And that's why it's sort of, I guess I would say, like Linux flavored, or, you know, like it can run Linux commands. If you were to pass it something else, it might not know what to do with it, right? But that's kind of the idea, is that Docker is sort of the arbiter of whatever's going into this empty shell of a container and from scratch. Got it.
Exactly.
Cool.
So with that, we started creating, in fact, I didn't actually save it. I think it's in my editor over here. So we started creating this Docker file earlier. And obviously that was rubbish. So I'm just going to save this, and then I'm going to actually rename it, because I think what we're going to need is, we're going to need a, in fact, let's move it to dockerfile.base, right? Because this is the, what have I done there? Oh, silly boy. Right, so we're going to just call this a Docker file, a different name. And I think what we want here is we want Dockerfile base, and so we're starting with scratch, and I think at this point we want to add our vocal.tarball, and that should do it, right? It says with no confidence whatsoever. So we're using a different file name, and we're going to call it vocal base. There we go. I think that is the appropriate incantation. Oh, what have we got here? Requires at least 2 arguments, but only 1 was provided. Ah, of course, I need to tell it where to add this thing, which is into the empty space that Scratch provides us.
Docker command.
Oh, bother, what's this? Failed.
We're building operating systems, but we're forgetting to copy them over.
Okay, so it's saying it can't build outside of where it's sitting. So let's do ln-s vocal and do that. There we go. Run that again. Oh man, don't make me bind mount this. I will get annoyed. So get rid of that symlink. Let's try a hard link. That will require sudo.
Cool. While you're doing that, Scoob Walk, welcome. It says very cool topic. Glad I stumbled on the stream. So thanks for joining. If you're new to the stream, feel free to give us a follow. We're SlimDevOps. We are the company behind the Docker Slim open source project and running Slim.AI website. So we do this weekly and talk containers and container slimming, container optimization. Definitely the first time we've tried to build a container completely from scratch. So this is an interesting investigation. We're hitting our first speed bump. It's been pretty smooth sailing until here. If people have ideas. Bigpod says just run docker build-f dockerfile.base.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Although I'm giving it a tag, and what I've done is I've used a hard link in the hope that Docker isn't too sophisticated and is going to demand that I use a bind mount, or goodness gracious, I have to copy that tarball over, and it really doesn't want to do it, does it? Okay, so hang on, I'm still doing this. Look at this. That's silly. Okay, let's try that again. Maybe I could have got away with the symlink after all. Oh, there we go. Oh, well, that was quick. Okay. Docker images. Okay. We have a base image that is 142 megabytes. That seems a bit big to me.
Yeah, it seems big, doesn't it? Yeah, because the original root file system was about 42, 45 megs, something like that, right?
Yeah, what have I missed here? Var cache apt archives. That should.
Luke is here. Hi, Luke. He says update the Docker file m path. Update the Docker file path, I think is what he's saying.
Docker
Or maybe
file
that was the
path.
problem you were having before. Yeah.
Yeah, quite possibly. Right. Okay. So where are we? We're here.
Well, can we test that container to see if it has a shell in it and just see like what all is inside that? Because we know what the root file.
We can do that. I was just going to rebuild this thing because I think I wasn't deleting all of those files correctly. So if we do this, it should recreate our tarball. Oh no, it's still okay. Whatever. Okay, let's
SlimDevOps, we remove your root file system so you don't have to.
Yeah, well, we actually do. I mean, not even joking.
There's more truth to that than perhaps.
So
that should do it. It's famous last words.
We have a Docker image here. So let's do Docker run Ubuntu. No, it's not an Ubuntu thing. It's Focal base. Error response, no command specified. Ah, right, of course.
Right.
We have not done this. We need to add this, right? So we now need to rebuild our image, which was quick, of course, and now come back here and run it. Glorious success. That's a shell. I'm inside a container.
Hello, I'm inside a container. Woo.
Let's see if we can figure out what I missed here. So let's look inside this. Archives. Partial. Okay, well that's all empty. So I don't know what's taking up all that space, I'm sure. But okay, something is. But there we go. We are inside a container. So we have our base image, right? We can go from here. So let's go back. I tell you what, let's copy that Docker file to dockerfile.python.
Okay.
Whoops. Dockerfile base to Dockerfile Python, and we'll go over to the code editor and edit that one. And I suppose now what we want to do is something like, well, what did we do yesterday? I can cheat a little bit. I can look up the project we were doing yesterday, which was in sync thing transfer, not that file, but cncf slim demo. Is this the right place? Yes. So
while you're looking up that, I think a couple good suggestions from chat. One is Lainey, I think, is pointing out that it's actually varlib apt lists with an S, not list. Might be where we're getting a little extra. And Bigpod had the suggestion to add a working directory to your Docker file, I believe, is the suggestion to where the file is that you're trying to find. But I don't think we necessarily need to do that yet. Maybe that was solving a problem that we had before. But yeah, generally we'd want to add a working directory to the Docker file, tell Docker where to look for the application or the command that we're running. But since we're running bash, it's just generic.
So this is how we installed our requirements for our app. We're not here yet because we don't have our app in the thing yet. So I think I'll just drop that line, because what we need to do is we need to install Python itself. So we need to do apt -y install Python 3 minimal. And I know from experience, having done this before for various projects at home, we also need the certificates, because otherwise it can't run many things at all.
And you may want some dev tools in there and stuff.
Well, of course, we need, Nano and what was it we put in yesterday? Nano Fish and Git or something. Stuff, that's a typo.
Well, right, like so for people who are on our stream with the CNCF yesterday, which is where we're using this example, and for people who have been on the stream before have seen us do Python examples, usually we start with the Python base image, right? So the Python base image has pip and all the setup tools and like all those kind of cool things that Python developers want all the time already installed. Even if you're using the Slim image or you're using some other kind of Alpine base image, they're still going to include those things like pip so you can use them. I think that's true about the Alpine base image. I'd have to check that. But like since we're starting from scratch, like debbootstrap doesn't have pip. It doesn't know what Python is. So we have to install all of that stuff because we're basically starting from nothing.
So this is our Docker file from yesterday, and there's starting with basically a Debian and Python image together. So we have now got this far. So we obviously need to update the apt cache, install the things that we're interested in. I'm assuming that Python 3 minimal. I tell you what, let's not risk it. Let's just be clear. We know we're going to need pip, so let's make sure that gets installed as well. So we'll install the minimal Python stuff and then do our cleanup. So we can do another build, but this time instead of the base Dockerfile base file, we'll use this Python one. So in fact, well, let's run it here. It doesn't matter. Oops, it says okay. That's doing things. It's not a very big. Let's do that. There we go. We can see that whir. So I've just found a new button in Visual Studio Code I didn't know was there. I'm gonna have to remember that one. Okay, that's I've made a big mistake. No, well, not a big mistake, but this is installing way too much stuff. So I think we need to add a flag here to say don't install all of the recommended packages. That
you're doing the apt update or apt-get, so that's just basically telling Debian to go find whatever it usually has, but that defeats the whole purpose of us starting with our own file system. Yep.
Oh, and I didn't change the name of it either, silly boy. Okay, I've made a few blunders here, but never mind. We can go back and clean this up in a moment. So what we'll do is we'll change that Docker file slightly to...
On the positive side, now that we're not running a shell to install a new root file system on your local machine, any mistakes that you make to these containers are easy to throw away.
Oh yes, yes. This is we're now into safe and comfortable grounds. So we'll say here, don't install the recommended packages because we don't want loads of stuff. So I'll rerun that and I'll actually give it the correct tag name this time. So this time we'll call this Python. And we'll let that run. So that should install far fewer packages. And I can click this so people... Oh, there we go. In fact, it's done. So that's a good sign. So if we do Docker images here now, this version is 185 megabytes. Okay, so that's not too terrible. That's in the right kind of ballpark, I think.
And just so the chat can remember to keep us honest, to rebuild the focal base image, because I think we just blew that one up a bit, right? Yeah. It was at 170 or something, 140?
142, yeah.
Right.
And obviously, the Ubuntu images are half that size for their base images, so we're way off the mark at the moment, but maybe we'll go back and massage that in a little bit.
Sure.
So that's our Python. So I suppose we can go over here, we can Docker run that and do focal Python. We should get a bash shell and we should be able to do Python version, Python 3.
Python 3, yeah.
There we go, 3.8.2. Cool. So this is good.
And do you have pip, or would pip come?
Well, we should do.
You have to create the environment.
Pip 3 version. There we go.
There you go. All right.
Right then. So whilst we're here in this terminal, let's just exit the container, copy our Dockerfile Python to Dockerfile app. I think that's probably what we want to do. And then we probably want to copy our app that we were using yesterday. CMCF Slim Demo app to here. In fact, oops, like so. Oh, if I could just press the right buttons. Think. There we go. So there's our app and our requirements file. So that's what we need if we now edit our new Docker file.
So now this is just a little housekeeping locally because we didn't have an app previously. So if you're in development mode here, this would be like whatever local file you're editing to write your actual application. We just have already done that step for a previous demo, and now we're just copying that over.
Yeah, we're just taking our little Flask demo app. So we had this step here, which installs our requirements. So I think what we'll do is improve. We had some comments yesterday that we were not doing the right thing. So I think we'll create a new layer here, and we'll install the requirements file, which is going to require that we have a work directory of app, I think, right? And that will then be able to find that requirements file. And no, it won't, because we also need to do the copy, don't we? We need this line here to copy the app over into the right spot, which is good. Then we run that, and then we want to set the user, because that's what we were doing yesterday, to a non-privileged user. We want to expose the default port that the app runs on, and in keeping with yesterday, we were using
entry point.
Sorry, entry point. That's the word.
Entry point. Yep.
Entry point, and we want that to be.
Oh, you're working in the wrong Docker file. Everybody's pointing out. You're working in the base Docker file.
Oops.
Nice catch, chat. Good work.
Oops.
We're an affiliated channel now, so we can figure out how to give you guys awards at some point for those kinds of catches.
Okay.
Nice catch.
Thanks,
Luke. Thanks, Phil. Good catches.
Well spotted, everybody. So we'll take all of that, put that in the app one here, and there we go. I think I just need to re-add that. Oops. Bash. Thank you very much, sparing my blushes. So
now when
we're
we
here.
build that base one to get the comparison, we're really going to be in a weird spot. But that's all right.
So is that it? We've created our working directory. We've copied some stuff in. We've used
you need to run the app actually in the entry point. So you want another command right after that to run app.py. Yeah.
Unlike the app.py, I think that is it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep, that should be it.
Okay. All right then. So let's do a Docker build. In this time, we're going to build from dockerfile.app, and we'll call it focal.app. So let's kick that off. Oh, that was quick.
Yeah.
Oh, it's done it as well. Look, it's done well. Docker images. It's a small update, of course, because it's just the requirements and our app. Okay. This is good, I think. So let's move over to our terminal. We should be able to do Docker run it, and we need to set the port there. This is from yesterday, so our container is now called Focal, and didn't we just call that one app? Is that it?
Yep.
Wow, look at this. Well, let's go over here and actually see if we can make our glorious application run. Now, brace yourself, everybody. This is the height. There we go. Success.
I did the UI myself.
Well done. You've done an outstanding job. I can see that required some significant
body by JSON.
Yeah, and also we have hello. Look, there we go. We can even do that.
Hello.
There we go.
Wow.
It works. We've done it.
Yeah.
So
Phil says we could have we can retag the old base image. I think that means for the comparisons.
Right.
Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking.
Yeah,
Well,
I
so
think
we
we
have
did it all.
actually done what we set out to do. How big is it? 189 megabytes. So that's 50 something megabytes bigger than I think we had using the Python base image.
Sure.
It was about 133. But it seems to me that this is where we lost the race, because we're starting from a position of being twice the size. So
okay. So that none image down there, that's what Phil meant about that retagging the base image. That's the image. That was the original one that we built, and that was 142. Or no, you're saying that's the one that we did on the CNCF demo yesterday.
No, that was our base image that we made, and then I stamped on it accidentally. So we can go back and fix all of that. So if we just kill that one.
Although, what we could do before you
go on.
delete the 444 one, I'm kind of curious what would happen if you run Docker Slim on all of them, right? Because in theory, and this might not work out the way we think it's going to work out, but in theory, if you ran Docker Slim on all three of those images, you should wind up with a fairly similar result.
Right. So the only one that has our application in it is the Vocal app. So we could do that now, though. We could run Docker Slim. So build. We even have the commands from yesterday handy, so we know we need to do an additional HTTP probe for completeness. So we're going to call this Vocal Slim, and we're going to build this from Vocal app. How many P's have I done there? There we go. All right, so let's do this. This should be fine. Have I still got it running somewhere? It wasn't able to connect to the port. Have I left it running in the other terminal?
Possibly.
No, I haven't. That didn't look like a healthy response here. So
did it actually build or no?
Well, it has actually.
Oh, it has. And it is the 23 megabytes, which is the
holy smoke! It's the same size as yesterday.
Yeah, might even be smaller than yesterday.
Well, okay, that could be because I thought I saw something that didn't look right there. So let's just have a look. Maybe I'm overreacting. What was this? I don't. Oh no, it's fine. That's done all. No, it's here. Whatever this
connection
is.
reset right here.
So I'm not sure what that is. So I wonder if it's actually run the application at all. I don't think that that's gonna run, but let's run, and we're going to do that, and then it's going to be Vocal Slim. I fully expect this to not work. Yeah. Yep. Interesting. So I'm very familiar with this message. I've seen this a lot recently. Okay, I think we clearly something went wrong there, but I'm thinking unwind. We'll recreate our base and correctly tag everything and try and get back to this point where we can create a Slim container. So let's have a look. How many of these have we got? We don't need this one, this one, this one, or any of those, because we're going to remake them. And we're even going to, so Docker images. Okay, we're all cleaned up. Let's have a little think. So we were also making some improvements So somebody said we got a typo in a cleanup step. So if we go back to our Bootstrap script here, that should be improved.
Yeah, I thought Lainey was saying that it was the list. The list should be lists, but I don't think that. But it looks like you have lists with an S there.
I've changed it when you mentioned that I'd spelt it
wrong.
Oh,
okay.
So I have ninja'd that already.
Cool.
Okay.
In the meantime, Bigpod says basically the container hasn't stood up, so the program that hits the stuff and tries the connection again, and on the second try it works. So I guess he's seen that error before.
You've seen that before, have you? Okay, well, let's give that a try. So we'll recreate our root file system from scratch. I'm just thinking, what else could we have got wrong here? I feel like I'm missing something important in terms of making these smaller.
Yeah, Lainey's saying what would happen if you made the root FS with variant equals min base.
That's I have done that. Okay. There it is.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It says.
Yeah.
Ignore. So sorry, I'm just catching up to the party. I'm a little over my head with all of this stuff. So
yeah. So I'm thinking there must be something else as a result of bootstrapping it that there's cruft somewhere that I've overlooked.
Yeah.
But maybe it was just that typo.
What if we rebuild the base image and then poke around inside that container?
Yeah. Let's do that. So we'll rerun from the top. Build ourselves a base image. So I'll root file system. So we'll run Bootstrap. Okay. So what I've told that to do is to keep the cache folder, because that's got the the packages inside it, but to throw away everything else and do everything from the very beginning. So
Luke suggests might be language files, so maybe we're including a bunch of translation type files.
Yeah. It must have been lists. Look at that. Our tarball is half the size, much smaller. 33 megabytes instead of 45. Yep. Okay, so now we've got that. We should remove this. Yes, did that actually remove? Yeah, okay, so we'll hard link this one back in here again, just to make absolutely sure we're not referencing some stale thing. Okay. So let's think about this. The first thing we need to do is a Docker build -f and the Docker file base. We're going to call this vocal base. Right? So that's the first part of this, right?
So the -f is just because you're calling the Docker file something other than Docker file.
Other than Docker file, yeah, because I knew I wanted multiple Docker files to sort of keep my sanity intact. So if we have a look at Docker images, oh, hey, that's a huge improvement.
Okay, there we go.
Our base image is now 84 megabytes, which is not that far off the 72 here. Yeah. So I'll take
Slim.AI beanie for Lainey for catching the typo error.
Thank you.
And solving the problem.
Thank you very much.
You get one too, because I think I thought Luke was right about the language sizes. So
I'm sure that there must be something else that we could do to trim things down. Maybe man pages, I don't know. We could do all sorts of things. After all, it's our base image. We could do anything we want to.
Right. That's the whole point. Yep.
So we're now going to build our Dockerfile Python, right?
Hallie has a good suggestion. Well, Lainey says Minbase should have done most of that slimming for us on the root file system, and Hallie says NCDU. We could see where the bulk was. We could totally dig into that in more detail.
So which one are we doing here? So now we're doing focal Python.
And I guess I can't remember if it was Andrew Hazen or whoever was talking about Nix, right? Because I'm starting to think back to a demo of Nix that I saw once where, because if I'm thinking about this right, if you're a developer, right, then you can manage this operating system just right. You know, if you have sort of like a template or a working directory, and you're just always going to copy your own file system over into your containers from scratch all the time, it's great from a control perspective. But then every time you make an update or anything new comes along, you're going to have to either add it yourself or make some kind of change. But some people like that level of control, right? That's like dependency management at the top level. So
yeah, I think we should definitely get around to doing stuff with Nix. I know our friends over at Gitpod are hugely impressed, and they actually used Nix to build their container images. So we should totally take a look at that at some point. Now this is encouraging. So our Python images are now 127 megabytes, and the Slim Python image from the official project is 122. So I don't think we're doing too badly here. Within 5 megabytes of somebody who's spent considerably longer than we have optimizing their images.
That lives and breathes Python. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll build our app on top of that, and see. We know that should be just a few megabytes more. So we'll build our apps container now. There it is. So what do we end up with? Oh, that's actually good.
Okay.
So yesterday when we were building this, our app container before slimming was 133 megabytes. So actually, we've managed to get, you just have to take my word for it, I'm not making it up. You can go and look at the CNC upstream as verification. So we've actually got to this point here where we've got our app container in 2 megabytes less, despite being behind in the race up to this point.
Yeah,
I suppose
which implies that when we were adding our app, that something, the Python Slim base image was thinking that we needed something that maybe we did, maybe we didn't. We don't know if the app runs yet, but it was adding something additional, like not much, right? 10 megabytes or something, but not much. So we're gaining a little bit by building this all from scratch.
We've still got
now the big question is, does it work? But
yeah, it just did. Yes, it just ran.
All right, great.
It just ran. Yeah. Whoa. So this is our images. So I was just trying to see if it was running anywhere. Okay, right then. Let's do Docker Slim. Sorry. Let's try that again. Docker Slim. And we'll build, and we'll include this command. We'll tag this as focal slim, and we'll build from focal app. Okay.
Cool. Well, that's running. Yeah. Okay. So Andrew jumped back in and he said he's using a home manager with Nix for declarative package config management on his desktop machine. Very impressed by it and starting to consider it for containers, as it seems popular there. Yeah, we'll have to have Jeff from Gitpod on to see if he'll show us his Nix demo, because that's exactly what he's doing. He's using a mono repo. Dependency management is incredibly straightforward and there's no questions in it. It's not like, oh, what am I using where? He knows exactly everything that he's using where, but it's a little bit of a mind-blowing demo, so I think it's a cool thing to see.
And here we go. So we didn't see these error messages this time, and there we go. A 5.74 times reduction from 131 megabytes down to 23, and this is definitely in the ballpark that we were looking at yesterday. So this container is slightly bigger than the broken one we had earlier, only very slightly. So let's run that one.
Oh no.
Disappointed.
Nope. Such file or directory.
Well, okay. This is I've run into a couple of times, and I'm not sure what the root cause of this is, but I think we may have a bug in Docker Slim, and I have got an archive of one of these projects, which I'm going to be submitting as a bug to the project because we need to investigate what's going on there. Or I'm doing something wrong. I don't know which it might be, but...
Okay. Well, I think that's a good investigation for us, maybe. Nice stopping point. I mean, I think so. We built a container from scratch. Check. We didn't delete your root file system. Check. We were able to build a Python capable container from in the scratch image as well. We added our app to that and it ran. We slimmed that app and it broke. Did we slim it once and it ran? No,
we haven't seen this app run here. What would be interesting is if I went to the original project and rebuilt that container to see if that works. So should we do that for science?
Sure. Well, I was thinking for science as well, we could also, Laney's right with me. I would love to see the contents of the slimmed image to see what happened. And I was thinking, if we could pull that into the Slim.AI platform, right, we could do a diff on those two containers. You'd have to push them to Docker Hub and then pull them back down. So maybe we'll have to save that for another stream or an office hours in Discord or something like that.
Let's do precisely that. I'll do an office hours tomorrow. So those of you that are interested in this, join our Discord. We'll do an office hours tomorrow. I will push this broken minified container to Docker Hub, and I will push the fat version of it. So I'll push Focal Slim and Focal App to Docker Hub, and then I'll use the Slim developer platform to pull both of those in and do a side-by-side diff of the two containers, and you'll be able to see exactly what happened between those two versions of the container. And it is a diff tool if you've not seen it before, so it shows you files removed, files modified, files added, all of that good stuff. And also it'll be interesting to look at the layer analysis, because this is going to look very different from any container we've looked at before, because we've got that whole tarball getting dumped right in at the very start. Right.
Although I wouldn't be surprised, right? I mean, it should, if I'm thinking about it in the right way, it should actually be fairly few layers, right? Because we're actually like just dumping that tarball in the middle of it is actually just one layer, whereas a lot of kind of common, Python and Node and stuff like that, they'll take a couple layers sometimes to add the right kind of like levels of operating system and stuff like that in the early layers. So it might actually be pretty optimized. But I think that diff is the thing that we need to see. That's kind of why we built that tool in the Slim platform, and it helps a lot with things like this when we don't exactly know what's happening in the minification process. So, all right, well, cool. Excellent. Well, that was a really interesting exploration. I think this was a cool topic.
It was a curious experiment, but it satisfied my curiosity, I have to say. All I'm thinking now is, well, how do I get it smaller? And why would we do that? I mean, we could throw away a bunch of stuff in that container, because we create the tarball of that root file system. So why not just throw away all the man pages? After all, this is going to be operated by a machine, not a person.
Right.
So we don't need that. Do we need different languages? Maybe if we embedded in our thing that we set all of the locale to, lang C, we could throw away all the languages and actually, squish it down even more. But that, I think, is for another day. So tomorrow we will go and take a look at what actually happened there. What's the before and the after? And we'll analyze that, and we'll use the diffing and exploring tools on the Slim developer platform to do that. So you can join our Discord. Above my head is our URL, and on that page you will find links to our Discord, and we'll do that in there, and you can join in.
Sounds good. It looks like Yannick, French guy, is starting his stream up in about 5 minutes. So if you guys are interested, I think he does some Flutter dev. He was saying what he was doing with the mobile application development. So if you're interested in that, maybe we jump a raid over to him. But
we will raid his channel, yes. So I hope he can hear me. I am ready to start this process, Yannick. So let me know if you're ready for me to push this. We'll raid Yannick's channel. He's going to be working on a Flutter app, and it's VM related. So we're going to be jumping from containers to virtual machines.
Yeah, and what are you guys doing next week? I saw some noise in the Discord channel and the Slim.AI Discord channel that you and Bigpod are going to be doing something next week. I'll be eating turkey. I'll be cooking turkey, which is probably a stream of itself. But so I
got a private stream of this. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, I cooked my practice turkey yesterday.
I think that's brilliant.
Yes, if people want turkey tips, the Discord, I'm happy to do an office hours tomorrow or even next week on turkey cooking tips in the Discord. But what are you and Bigpod doing next week?
So Yannick, who we're just going to go and raid in a moment, was asking, can you put graphical applications inside Docker containers? And Bigpod was the first to answer that question with, well, yes, you can, but here are some of the considerations. And I thought, well, that will be a fun little aside to do. So Bigpod and I are going to do something with a graphical application in a Docker container. So that's what we'll be looking at. Okay. Get followed for that. So cool. I see that Yannick is up and running. So I'm starting our engines. I'll just also I know that something was going on earlier that was a bit weird, so I'll just get ready to manually pull our stream down if we need to. So we'll thank you everyone for coming. We'll see you soon. Please join our Discord. We'll do that office hours and show you more about how Slim works and the developer platform. But for now, let's go and find out what Yannick is up to. We'll join him right now. Bye for now.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.